constantly, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
I am constantly amazed at the amount of traders that don't use stops. I mean, like, it's shocking to me. How do you not? I only have 2 rules. Everything else is a guideline. Use stops on every trade and pay for every trade to remove my risk. That's it. Everything else is a guideline. Holy smokes. HODL. Oh, okay, now they're rushing in. HODL drives me out of my mind. What is HODL? Oh, hold on for dear life? No. You can't eat paper profits, but you can sure fucking choke on them. Excuse my language. You can't eat paper profits, but you can sure choke on them.
This episode of the Speculators podcast is sponsored by Jigsaw Trading. Jigsaw Trading is an industry leader when it comes to order flow tools, training, and equipping traders to make better trade decisions. And if you've ever been trading and just feel a little lost and feel like you're missing something, and maybe you've been drawn to order flow and intuitively you know that it's important and that you should be learning this, but it's just a little overwhelming because of how it moves and because of the numbers and you don't really know where to start, I get it, but you need to check out Jigsaw Trading. On a personal level, my first exposure into order flow and the idea that this is important came directly from Peter Davies, the founder of Jigsaw Trading. And even through to today, most of what I do with order flow and my thoughts around it came directly from Jigsaw. We're gonna have more to say about Jigsaw later in the episode, and I'm gonna give you some direction on how you can access free order flow training starting as soon as today. But for now, let's get started with today's episode. I'm very glad that you're here. I hope you get something from today's conversation, and a big thank you to Jigsaw for sponsoring the episode. Let's begin. Mr. PAX, welcome to the channel. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Andrew, right? What's everyone call you?
Very close, very close. Aaron, but everybody calls me Corbs.
Corbs, okay. What's up, Corbs?
Not much. It's Thursday at the time of this recording. How has the week been going for you?
Great.
Did you get to trade today?
I did.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm sure we'll jump in and talk about some of that. Maybe by way of just laying some foundational thoughts, could you start off with just explaining to us how you approach the markets?
Well, I trade the opening range breakouts. I kind of pioneered the opening, well, on the screens anyway. I guess I'm known for trading the opening range breakouts. That's how I was taught how to trade in the NASDAQ pit. I became one of the biggest traders in the NASDAQ futures pit in the world, on the floor for a long time, transitioned to the screens and, trade the opening range breakouts on the screens.
Okay. And so exclusively, that's how you approach markets. So maybe after the opening range is broken out, are you done for the day?
No. So I take profit on my trades. Yeah, I manage my trades. So I'm long from 44.09 and I take profit at predetermined targets at 44.24, 43.24, 43.38, and 43.50. Mm-hmm. And I either flatten up at the third target or I just leave a runner on. I left a runner on today because I'm still short from last week in another account.
Very interesting. And so your method would be discretionary, or is this very mechanical?
Both.
Okay. So
most
definitely rules based, but you need to use discretion.
Right.
Of course. Okay. Interesting. So what are the products that you're trading?
I trade S&P, sometimes NASDAQ. I'm prepared to trade Russell, although I haven't traded Russell in a very long time. I trade gold. I trade 30-year bonds a lot lately. Crude a lot every so often, not lately though.
Yep.
So and mostly S&P, I would say S&P, bonds, and crude are my main markets.
Okay, so maybe branch out closer to 6 or 7, but very dialed in to just a few futures products.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting. And then as far as your approach goes, every morning you're coming in, the open happens. You have your way of understanding what that opening range looks like. You play the open, which I'm assuming, do you get resolution on when the opening range gets broken out, usually within the first 30 minutes?
Say, depends. Yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah. Usually. Yes. Usually.
Yeah, sometimes maybe really quick, sometimes, longer.
Sometimes real quick, sometimes, later on in the day.
Yeah. And then based on how that opening range goes, you're either managing a position for the rest of the day, sometimes multiple days, or you're getting out of it. Once, let's say you're out, and maybe it happens quickly where you're not taking much profits, or maybe it's a losing trade.
Is that now done for the day?
Well, it depends on whether. So I predetermine my targets where I'm going to take profit before the market opens, and depending on how important the target is, I'll either flatten up or I'll leave a run around. So I'm still short from 44.52 from last Wednesday. 44. The opening range on Fed day was 44.01 half, and because it was the Fed time, I didn't trade it. I waited until we got below some very big and key targets at 64 and 52. At 52 was my worst sale, so of course last in, last out. So it shows me short from there. Then when I want to hold those runners until like my next flatten zone, which will be 41.87, but I want to use the intraday opening ranges, I'll go trade on a different account. So I'm long today.
Okay.
And if we end up, rallying overnight, something happens where we rally like crazy, well, I'll wash the trades.
Interesting. Okay, so you could be take a trade, let's say on the S&P, it's moving down, you're still in that, but the next day when the open happens, you will want to participate. So you have a different account that's still being managed, and then you start the process over again. Yeah, very interesting, very nice.
That doesn't happen very often lately because we're not moving very much, but last couple of weeks we have.
Yeah. Okay. And then what are the tools that you're using? Is it just strictly price action or
what do you mean? Like what
for your method of understanding let's say the opening range breakout, is that some type of a tool that you're relying on, or is it mostly just reading the actual price action?
No, it's just reading price action.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. That's fascinating. So
just like I did on the trading floor, when you're familiar with the way that the NASDAQ futures traded on the floor and the S&P futures traded at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Did you ask, am I familiar?
Yes.
Very surface level, but I haven't, but I'd love to hear you explain it.
Well, I mean, it trades like this, so price would open up and I would trade the breakouts. And I traded my process and my method. I made tons and tons of money doing that. When I decided that I knew better, I started to fade markets. I started to average in losses. Then I started to spin my wheels and I left my process behind. And, that never fucking works, not long term. I don't know. I tweeted this yesterday. I know a lot of traders that have made a lot of money fading markets. I don't know any. Not one that have kept it. I've been a partner in a clearing firm. I've owned my own prop group, like a real prop group, not the funded companies. Funded companies are real prop, but different, a real prop group.
Yeah.
And I've been a partner in an FCM. I've owned my own prop group. I've backed more traders than I can even remember. And I've stood in the pit with thousands of the best traders in history. So I've seen it happen. And I did it my own self, I've seen it over and over and over again. So for me, I need to stay, within my process and my method. I went completely broke after MF Global took the last $2.5 million I had in October of 2011. I pissed away another couple of $1 million real quick. Don't put, I don't give a fuck. I did a Twitter Spaces about that last week, and chasing that money. I made generational money by the time I was 34 years old. I was going to retire when I was 35. My ex-wife divorced me, and so I had to start all over again. So, and it just on the trading floor, before algorithms took over and computer programs generated the volume in 2003, computer programs began to generate most of the volume. I had already been trading for 5 or 6 years, and I was making unbelievable amounts of money. I got divorced in 02, 03. I took like a year off. I came back. And the NASDAQ had these 200, 300, 400 point ranges every day. And the volume that was anywhere between 50,000 to 100,000 was all in the pit. And I didn't have access to charts. I was in the pit. I was busy trading. I was busy making markets. I was busy creating price. I had direct access to price. You being off the floor, you had to call a broker who called a broker who maybe got to a floor broker, and you got an order in. So you had access to technology, which I didn't. I had access to price. You didn't. So that's how things kind of washed. When computer programs took over, like 03, and I missed that year, ranges contracted. We went from 150 point ranges to 50 point ranges. I didn't have the it was after my dad. I got remarried quickly, and and I got divorced in 03, remarried in 05. I didn't have the mental, spiritual, emotional makeup to be able to adjust to it. I grew up in South Side of Chicago, didn't know anybody that had money. Here I am, rich, divorced, lonely, rejected, all of these other things. Now my ego comes into play. I left my process behind. I start averaging these losses. Nothing went well for 3 years. I didn't lose money. I just didn't make money. And then I ended up leaving the floor to start a prop group. And then 08 happened. In 08, my mom died in June. My sister died in October, and my mother-in-law died in March. My wife and I had a couple of kids pretty quickly too. And then, the world fell apart. So I was still okay financially. I went back I traded for Pete Stottlemyre for a little bit of time when he tried. He's the father of market profile.
Of
so he's trying to update the profile into the age of algorithms, which didn't work. So we shut that down. But I went into the hog pit, and I traded hog futures at that time.
Wow.
And I learned how to spread. I learned how to trade, commodities and things, and I did well. Not like the old days in the NASDAQ, but I did very well. And then MF Global happened, and everything that I didn't deal with in 08 came crashing down. I just puked everything that we had all over the place until I was driving Uber at the age of 42, 55 now. So I started over, and I started getting money back from MF Global in 2013, and I rebuilt my life and rebuilt my career since. And my wife and I have never been happier and healthier and wealthier, and we've been richer for sure, but never wealthier. There's a big difference.
You've touched on a lot of your story there, and I know you've had a very interesting story coming up in the market, and you've talked about it in detail online, all over the place. People can find it very easily. But it's very interesting. It's very great to have the time to just sit down and talk with you. And I hope we get quite a bit of your brain picking here, because I know you have a lot to share. A couple quick other questions, just kind of wrap my mind around what you're doing every day, and to get off the foundation here. On an average type of day, let's say not positions that are open that you're managing, how many trades are you taking on any given day normally?
I won't take, that's a good question, because I can take every false breakout and get killed. So I limit to something I call a 2x4. So I'll take 2 trades, cut my size, give myself 2 more trades. So I'm not going to take, that's kind of a guideline. So I've been doing this a long time, and I'm pretty well capitalized now. So depending on the market, I'll give myself more than 4 or 5 trades. But if I'm making more than 5 trades out of the opening range, I'm losing money.
Yeah, got it. And what would you say is an average hold time for you? Is it kind of an anomaly for things to run for several days, or no?
It depends on if we're breaking out, I'll hold things until, until we get to what I call flatten zones, So it depends on what prices those are. 4187 to 4187 to 4409 in the S&P. So that's a long way between flatten zones. But in the 44 handle, I've got four flatten zones, So it depends on what the market is doing, and how it's consolidating and how it's breaking out. If we're breaking out, then I'll hold things, and as long as I can, as long as the market tells me to.
When you have the flatten zones, are they discretionarily based on something, or are they based on range extensions?
Oh, no. Yeah, so both. They're going to be systematic. They're based on expiration prices, and then Fibonacci math in between that.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Very interesting. Could you walk us through just like a normal trading day? Let's say from the time you get up, if there's anything you do pre-market as like a ritual, to the time you sit down at the desk, do your pre-prep. What happens while you're trading? Any kind of like dominant thoughts you're focused on, and then wrapping it up with any type of an end of day ritual that you do?
I'm very ritualistic in everything I do. I'm superstitious in many ways, and ritualistic in many ways. I wake up every morning between 4:45 and 5 o'clock. First thing I do is if my wife is still in bed, I make the bed, and if she's still in bed, I make my end of it. That's the first thing I do. It's very important that I do that. She normally wakes up the same time I do, so I'll make her bed. Then the second thing I do is I do a guided meditation, and then I do some breathing exercises. At that point, then I'll do a little bit of yoga or light stretching. Then now I'm up an hour, so I come downstairs. I don't drink coffee anymore. I drink a lot of water. So I'll come downstairs and check price, what's the market done overnight, and I'll adjust my targets for the day. And if I've got positions on, I'll just adjust stops and do whatever I need to do. And then at that point, I put my plan out to traders that are in my trading group. And last thing I do, and I listen to music. By the time I get downstairs, I put music on, and I got a playlist that continually plays. So the whole idea is that by the time the market opens, by the time bonds open at 7:20 Central Time, crude opens at 8 o'clock, and the equities open at 8:30 Central Time, I'm reaching like a morning climax. I've got like a crescendo. I've got I've got accomplishments under my belt. So, my first trade doesn't need to be my first accomplishment. I've already accomplished things in the morning. I'm focused. I'm, what I call confident, carefree, fearless, and focused. I'm CCFF. I'm confident, carefree, fearless, and focused. If I can determine through my morning routines to what level and to what extent I am CCFF, then I can decide what kind of size I'm going to trade that day, depending on how the market trades,
Yeah.
If I'm not confident, carefree, fearless, and focused, then I'm going to trade smaller size. If I am, then I'll trade bigger size. If the market cooperates, and I'm always looking for spots to size up, size down, and I'm always looking for spots to go big, go small, or not at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before you progress with the day here, just a couple quick questions. Why the decision to cut out coffee?
I don't know. Just got older.
Okay.
I want to drink less caffeine and consume less sugar.
Okay.
Better carbs, more protein.
Very good. You also said that you listen to music. What type of music are you listening to?
Anything on my playlist is in my morning playlist is anything between I don't know, I don't know what you would call a contemporary country, Chris Stapleton, to Irish traditional music, to Irish trad music, to Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and the Great American Songbook, to Cat Stevens, Billy Joel, and Elton John, and everything in between.
So whatever you're in the mood for maybe at the day.
80s and 90s dance music. So it'll, whatever plays on the playlist, and it is kind of what I pay attention to.
Yeah, very interesting. And then when you do your, CCFF here, are you, this is very interesting, and it's almost like a weird dynamic that I've identified a lot in my life. I don't know if I've really pinpointed why these things happen, but there are times when I come into the day and I just feel super dialed in. And there are days where I know I'm not doing anything wrong outside of trading, but I'm just not feeling that same way. I haven't characterize it the way that you have, but I think it's a very interesting thought of just being very in tune with how you're feeling, because sometimes before you even start trading the day, you understand that you should not be risking a lot today. And even if you don't know why, but there's something there. Could you just maybe say a moment on when you came to that realization, like you need to keep that qualitative number, and how often that guides a decision, like once a week, maybe there's 3 times a week that makes you change your size or something?
Probably every morning I'm going to come into the day and I'm going to think whether or not, I don't ever come down to my screens and think, gosh, I hope I make money. Boy, oh boy, I hope I make money. I come down to the screens every morning expecting to make money. Obviously I don't make money every day, but I expect to. So I'm always confident. I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my plan. I'm confident in my process and my strategy, and I'm confident that I'm not going to overtrade. Now, just because I'm confident doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. Being carefree would be, am I worried about? I've got 5 kids. Am I worried about any of my kids? Am I worried about my wife? Am I worried about any of the traders in my group? Previous to when I was rebuilding, when I just started to make money again, 13, 14, 15, starting to rebuild 16, going into 18, my cares were different. I had to worry about paying the mortgage out of what I made, how much money am I going to get back this quarter from MF Global? What's going to go on with my kids? Do I have enough? Am I putting enough away for retirement? Am I putting enough away into my kids' trust or into 529 plans? So I had money issues. I don't have those so much anymore, but I had them then. Cares. Am I carefree when I sit down on my trading? Is my psyche, is my spirit encumbered by anything? If it is, I need to let it go. And I need to recognize it. Or I can trade my process, but I got to trade smaller, and I got to make sure I don't overtrade. Fearless. What am I afraid of? I've got some health issues. Am I worried I'm going to die when I'm 50? I'm 55. Will I die when I'm 57, 60? Will I live a long, full life? I'm doing the best that I can to make sure that I do. But in the meantime, what fears do I have? I don't fear dying. I'm a faithful man. I share my faith freely. Am I worried about any of these? Previous, when I started coming up with this, I was afraid of losing money. One thing I'm afraid of is I am afraid of going broke again. And that fear is still, permeating my life. But I had fear of, losing money. I don't fear losing money anymore because, I've been doing this long enough to know that the market can't hurt me. Only I can, as long as I'm not confident, carefree, fearless, and focused. Did I sleep well? Did I eat? I eat well. I go to bed at the same time every night. I wake up in the same time every morning. I'm not a naturally disciplined man, so I need to do the same things constantly so that I can appear to be disciplined. And that helps me to remain focused. Do I know what my targets are? Do I know where I expect the market to go, either higher or higher above the opening range or lower below the opening range? Can I anticipate what price is going to do without overreacting at it? So am I confident, carefree, fearless, and focused? And I got to determine that every morning. If I'm not, then I can trade. Sure, I can take a couple of easy attempts out of the opening range. If we come out of the opening range in the first few attempts, well, good. All I have to do is manage that profit, remove my risk, and manage my profit. And that's it. If I'm focused, if I slept great and I feel great, I'm energized, and the market has given it to me, let's go. I'll size up as quickly as anybody.
It was very nice to hear. Thank you for walking us through that. Now, let's say you get through the trading day. Just to tidy up this question here. The day's over. Do you have a end of day ritual that you do? Logging trades, journaling, or something?
Yeah. So the first thing I do is I work out midday. So if I haven't worked out, I'm going to work out after the close. If I don't work out after the close, if I've already worked out, then I take a nap. I close my eyes and for 30 minutes, I just kind of lay there and almost like a twilight sleep, like a meditation.
Yep.
And I think about the day. I think about the things that went on. I think about how I could have done better. And then I go upstairs and whatever we're doing with my family. When I'm at work, I'm at work. Nobody bothers me. And when I walk downstairs to go to my office, my wife will say, "Have a good day at work, honey." "Yeah, thank you. You too, babe." That kind of thing. And my kids will say the same basic thing, and nobody bothers me when that door is closed. So when I open the door and I come upstairs, I'm dad again. And, where are we going? Baseball games, are we going for dinner? What are we having for dinner? Those sorts of things. When we're done with dinner, 7, 8 o'clock, whatever, I come down and sit in my office and I go through my trades from the day. How many round turns did I take around the opening range? How many round turns did I take at one of my, if I missed the opening range, where did I try to reestablish the position? Did I try to establish at a valid target? Was it a good trade? How did I manage? I don't lose money, I spend money. How did I manage my expenses, my market expenses? Did I keep my expenses tight? Did I broaden them? Those sorts of things. Did I turn an expense into a loss? I try not to do that, but of course I'm a trader, it happens. So did I keep my expenses tight? What could I have done better? And let's do it, tomorrow, the next day. And move on. How could I have acted better? How could I have done better? It's very important to me, Corbs. My mental, the key to my success, your success, any of our success, long term, I don't care what people make in 5 years, 10 years. I am not impressed with what somebody makes in 10 years. I saw a guy on Twitter the other day bragging about his Ferrari and his Porsche. I shake my head and I feel kind of sorry for that guy. Because life changes, businesses change, relationships change, health comes and goes, money evaporates in situations that we never dreamed of happening. Now that guy could have some serious money behind him, but that's what I'm thinking in my mind. Yeah. Because I've experienced it, and not only by experience it directly, but I've seen tons of other traders do it. Same thing. So I'm not easily impressed with what somebody makes in a year or 5 years or 10 years. Oh, great. Good for you. The only true measure of success is what we take with us when we are done trading for active income. That's it. You know, I'll trade until the day I die, and God willing, I'll trade at the shitty, ratty desk that's behind me. I started with I'll never replace that crappy desk. It's falling apart. My wife has fixed it with brackets. She's handy. I'm not. And it's holding up my screens because that's what I sat down on in 2013 on a laptop to rebuild my career. So I'm not going to go spend, money for a new one. I'm going to keep using that until it falls apart. Little superstitious things like that help me to maintain my spirituality. Now my faith helps me maintain my spirituality, but my mental makeup, what's going on between my ears, that's the most important. What's going on in my soul, that's in my body. I need to take care of my body, my spirit, my body, and my mind. If I can take care of those three things, then I'm more likely to continue to be a long-term profitable trader, not just profitable for today, which is important. One brick at a time, got to build my business one day at a time, one trade at a time, one day at a time, 1 month at a time, but not just to be a profitable trader for a year or 5 years or 10 years, but for the remainder of my career until the day I die. I'll do this until I can't do it anymore. Like Jim Dalton. Jim Dalton is in his 80s, still trades every day. Leo Melamed, the man who invented futures trading, is 90 years old. Holocaust, escaped the Holocaust in Bialystok, Poland. Leo Melamed is the reason that we are all any of us trading futures are here trading futures. Largely the reason that any real trader is trading. That man still trades S&P almost every single day. Wow. He's the one that's invented electronic trading, but no, he didn't invent it. He funded it from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and he still calls in his trades. He calls a broker who's on a computer to fill his orders. Anyway, I plan on being like Leo Melamed or Jim Dalton, an older man, and still doing this every day. Not for active income, but to keep myself active and to have fun doing it and to keep my brain activity going.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never heard that.
Corbs, I can talk forever, dude. You got to stop me because I can just keep going and going.
Yeah. No, please. You're doing the right thing. Just to kind of recap so I understand this, you sound like you have almost like a two-prong approach to your end of day. The first one being a little bit more just reflective and thoughtful, and then you come back after some time has been separated and then drill into some KPIs.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting.
After I separate, yes, absolutely. I can't do that right after whatever had gone on during the day is going to color the way that I'm looking at my, at my trades in my day. So I've got to put some distance between myself and that.
Yeah. That's a tough balance of creating that space so that you can accurately see it, but not removing yourself too much where it's several days ago and now all of a sudden you can't really even remember accurately what happened. So yeah, the same day is important, but it sounds like a really great balance. So let's say this, you have a completely blank chart. You could put one time frame on it. You could put one product on it, and you could use one tool. How would you set up that chart?
I would set up a daily S&P.
Okay. So you would go daily time frame.
Yes.
The S&P, I'm assuming candles.
Futures, yes, candles.
And then no tool at all? Opt out of the tool?
No tools.
Wow.
I don't have any indicators on my charts. I don't.
How about Fibonacci?
VWAP.
VWAP. Nice.
Yeah.
I was going to go with to help you with some of your levels, the Fibonacci, but I love that you chose VWAP. Great. Okay, very interesting. Maybe one last question just to kind of pick your brain about what you do every day, but do you have a worldview of how you think about the market? Like when you sit down and you're participating in the action, that this is a financial warfare and you're a soldier, or this is an artistic endeavor and this is your canvas and you're the painter? Do you have like a way that you interpret or you think about yourself as a trader interacting with the market?
That's a really interesting question.
Let's take a quick break from today's episode because I need to ask you a very important question. Have you ever been trading, maybe up against the hard right edge of the screen, and you find yourself maybe coming off of a loss and thinking thoughts like, what is going on? I'm confused. I don't get it. You ever think those kind of thoughts? Of course you have, because you're not using today's video sponsor, Jigsaw Trading. Jigsaw Trading provides institutional grade tools, education, and insights to help traders make better decisions. And it's no secret that the best traders in the world are using order flow, sometimes exclusively, but they're using it at some level. And if you don't understand order flow, and if you don't have the tools to see it, you're just missing an important piece of information. Full stop. Jigsaw Trading is the real deal when it comes to equipping traders with the tools and education to trade like pros. And I'm talking about their award-winning trading platform called Day Trader. This is going to give you elite level order flow analysis, custom charts, automated trading analytics, and it was built based on techniques actually used by institutional traders to give you clarity into market movement. And that's just one part of the package. They also have Journalytics, the most advanced journaling and analytics system that is going to track your progress and help you identify your weaknesses. They also go beyond tools and resources with step-by-step video courses and drills designed by real professionals to shortcut your learning curve dramatically. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or brand new to the screens, Jigsaw Trading is going to have something for you. Oh, and did I forget to mention that they're giving away a free order flow training right now? All you're going to have to do is click the link below, and it's going to take you to a free order flow training where you can see what Jigsaw is all about for yourself. A big thank you to Jigsaw for sponsoring this episode. Make sure you check out their free video training. Now let's get back to the episode.
I like the painter. I'm not a warrior. I'm not fighting. I'm not, I've seen people say that, zero sum, this is zero sum. I don't believe that. I might buy 20s and sell 30s. You buy 30s and sell 35s. Nobody lost. I made money. You made money. Anyway, I'm not competing with thousands of other unnamed traders. I did that on the floor. 90% or more of the volume is created by computer programs. All I'm doing is surfing the market. I've got a plan, I've got a process, and I'm like a surfer. I'm out there I'm battling myself. I'm battling my weaknesses and my shortcomings. Yeah. And I'm looking to maximize my strengths and continually take money out of the markets every single day. So I'm just kind of surfing whatever price is doing. On the floor, I created price. Algorithms create price now. I was a big trader. So if you were a 2-lot, 5-lot trader, you would feed off of the things the trades that I didn't want. I would take 50 and 20 and 100, and I've always traded my own account. I've never traded it for anybody else. So on the screens, I am that small trader just surfing what the bigger traders are doing, like the smaller traders did with me on the floor. So I think maybe just kind of, I'm not a surfer. I've never surfed. But that's it. Just kind of being consistently surfing whatever it is that the algos are doing.
Yeah. Coming up from a very professional environment, and I think you just said, you made the statement. I think you just said you're not really a fighter, but you have, fought a lot of battles in your life to get you to this point. And from your environment of a professional environment, where when you wanted to start trading, you were in this environment where you had to show up, you had to be there, you had to be dressed, you had to, interact with the world and really go for it. And the average retail trader, my experience as well, if you have a pulse and a checkbook, you can begin being a trader, in your pajamas if you want. From your perspective of the journey that it took you to get here, how do you view the average retail trader?
What do you mean specifically? How do I view them?
Do you think about them as just like they're on a good path and there's a lot of good traders out there? Do you kind of look at everybody as soft and a little lost and not really even knowing what they should be doing? And do you have a general thought when you think of like the average trader out there?
I think there's a lot of nonsense out there. Yeah. I've got nothing but respect for retail traders. I've got nothing but respect for anybody that'll open up a trading account and to try to better their lives financially or the lives of those that they love, or both. It's nothing but love and respect for people that have the courage to do that, because it does take courage to do that. Whether you're trading stocks, you're trading SPY, you're trading ETFs, whatever, you're trading futures like I do. It takes balls to do that. So I've got nothing but respect for people to do that. There's so much nonsense out there, on Twitter. If you speak with authority and you say things with, confidently, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to follow you and start to imitate that. And, I feel terribly sad for people that are chasing those carrots and the sticks that are just leading them down bad rabbit holes, for bad metaphor. But I think 90% of traders fail. Out of the 10% of traders that don't fail, most of them break even, and maybe 1 to 3% of traders are going to make money and be consistently profitable. And out of that 3% that are consistently profitable, small amounts of that are going to, make anywhere between $500,000 to 7 to 8 figures. Very small percentage of those. So if 90% of traders fail, why do I want to think like 90% of traders? I don't. My experience on the floor, my experience in going broke. That's my edge. I've got a nearly photographic memory. I can remember trades I made back in the 80s. I didn't trade in the 80s, but in the late 90s when I started trading in the 2000s, if I look at a chart, I can tell you what I did that day. So I can remember numbers, I can remember prices, I can remember targets, I can remember, all those things come natural to me. So I build on those strengths. I need to learn how to think differently and apply that differently than what most people do. And that's gonna continue to keep me in good stead. And I'm not gonna fight the algorithms. I'm not gonna fight the markets. I don't average in losses. I average in profit. I add to profitable trades. I will never average in a loss, ever. I don't know anybody that makes money long term. I know a lot of people who've made a lot of money averaging losses. They get lucky. I can't do that. I can't buy 43 halves, 43 20s, and then try to sell 43 40s. I've done that so many times for so many years with such big size that I know in the end how that ends, and it doesn't end well. So I feel bad for traders that ultimately wind up thinking that you have to fight the market, you have to fight the algos, that you have to fight anything or anybody in order to be able to pull a few bucks out of the market every day. This isn't rocket science. What's the saying that this is the hardest easy money that you'll ever make?
No doubt.
It's because of what I bring to the screens.
You talked about not a lot of nonsense out there, and I'd be interested from your perspective. Is there some? I know there's a lot of very commonly held beliefs or sayings out there, and mixed in there are some real gems. And then I think there's some very commonly said things that people just believe that are actually horrible piece of advice. When you think of like just commonly phrases like, maybe something like the trend is your friend, or you don't go broke taking profits, or any number of things, is there like a popular phrasing out there that drives you crazy and you see it as being actually very harmful?
Probably a million of them. Yeah. You don't go broke taking profit. Actually, you do. You do go broke taking profit. Yeah, small amounts of profit, and that's another thing. Most traders are going to think that you've got to take quick, short, fast profit, and then you leave these huge, broad moves on the table. There's a trader I talk about, Ross Deutsch. I tweeted about him a couple weeks ago, and he tweeted back to me, one of the best traders that nobody's ever heard of.
Heard of him.
Retired, I think, when he was 40 years old. I was playing golf with him in 1999. I remember because I got a set of 99 Big Berthas, which I still have the iron, the wedge from. Anyway, we were walking down the fairway at his country club, and I had just met him, and I had called up the NASDAQ pit, and I took profit on a 10 lot, and I made $15,000. I was still short 10 NASDAQ, but I made 15 grand on the trade. I'll never forget it. He said, "Why'd you do that?" Well, you don't go broke taking profit. He said, "Yes, you do. You just made, how much did you make?" I said, 15,000. He said, "Well, good. If that trade turns the other way, you're going to lose how much? I don't know, 30, 40. So that brought into mind, or crystallized the whole idea of the risk reward ratio. I don't know what that is. Somebody had asked me what my RR is on Twitter not long ago, and I actually had to Google it. This like a year or two ago, when I started to become popular on Twitter. I had to Google it. What is that? I don't know what. Am I going to risk 4 points to make 8? So that's, again, I don't lose money. I have expenses. So I'm going to risk a couple of ticks to make whatever the market has for me. 5 points, 20 points, 50 points, 100 points, whatever. Caught that break last week, and I'm still short some. And and I didn't risk much more than a couple of ticks on an 8 lot. So I don't know. I think that there's wisdom in a lot of those sayings. I think that the trend is your friend. For there's some wisdom in it, and I don't fight trends anymore. I don't fade markets. There's a lot of them. They come to mind when I'm talking about it, and it's just not coming to mind now, though.
Yeah, no doubt. It's very interesting to hear you say that. I think a lot of people will hear not paying attention to risk to reward and maybe take that as the risk doesn't matter. But just to
I am constantly, I'm sorry to interrupt. No. I am constantly amazed at the amount of traders that don't use stops. I mean, like, it's shocking to me. How do you not? I only have 2 rules. Everything else is a guideline. Use stops on every trade and pay for every trade to remove my risk. That's it. Everything else is a guideline. Holy smokes. HODL. Oh, okay, now they're rushing in. HODL drives me out of my mind. What is HODL? Oh, hold on for dear life? No. You can't eat paper profits, but you can sure fucking choke on them. Excuse my language. You can't eat paper profits, but you can sure choke on them. Yeah, GameStop. I'm tweeting. I'm just, getting a following on Twitter, and all of the meme stocks are going nuts. And I'm telling everybody, take some off the table. This is crazy money. This happens once in a lifetime. Take profit. No, I'm going to make $1 million. A lot of those people sold out for losses or nothing. Crypto. I just talked to a cousin of mine who owns four Bitcoins, 4 tokens. When we were trading up around $50,000-$60,000, I kept telling him, you got to sell some, take some profit, sell one coin. No, I'll sell it. It's going to $500,000. Somebody told him it was going to $500,000. That's what he's got in his mind. And so he's not selling them until he gets there. Okay. I mean, he owns it for like $300 or $400. And he's got dough. So I get that, but hold on for dear life. No, man, take profit along the way and not use stops. I'm shocked every time I hear of a trader not using stops. It's shocking and dismay. It shocks and dismays me.
Yeah. And yeah, it's very interesting. And that's kind of why I brought that topic up, because there are certain pieces, especially in communities, that are taken as gospel, like diamond hands, don't sell, when it's one of the worst pieces of advice as a trader that you could ever.
Diamond hands is another one. It makes me want to throw up. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Again, you can choke on paper profits, but you can't eat them.
Yeah. And I brought even that last thing before we went off on that, just to clarify, because to me, you obviously don't sound like somebody who doesn't care about risk, but the fact, you don't monitor risk to reward, or that's not how you think about it. Not to say that your risk isn't very focal to you. And from what I'm hearing about you, the way that you're trading, this is what that idea is going to cost you. And you have no idea what that upside potential is anyway. So you're not thinking about it like, I'm risking these 4 ticks and then I'm going to take 2-to-1 risk to reward, but this is what the trade plays out to be. But you don't think about it like I'm risking 1 to 3 here.
No. So I the way that I think about it is, and risk is incredibly important. I mean, I should have said it in a different way.
No, I got you.
I'm going to spend, I'm right or right out, right or right out. So this morning, the bottom of the opening, or the top of the opening range in the S&P was 43.09. So I bought 09s. If it doesn't go 10 bid, I'm out. I'm not waiting for it to go 8 offer to get out. Okay. I'm not waiting for the trade to go against me. If it doesn't go my way, because the algorithms take the market out of the opening range immediately. We know right away if it'll work. Now, I might buy 09s. It's going to go 10 bid and then back down to 09, in which case I take a scratch. Now, if I buy 09s and it goes 08 half offer right away, well, I'm trading against paper. I'm going to get out for a tick or 2 tick expense. That's an expense, right? So now I'm going to, very rarely will I have more than a 2 tick expense on a trade. Now, I'm not going to do that more than 3-4 times before I cut my size or decide not to trade. So, I mean, the trade either works or it doesn't. And trading futures, that's how quick these algorithms, the HFTs and the algorithms, will take the market out of the opening range. It's the opening range for me is the first 30 seconds of the day. That's what it was on the trading floor my whole life. I was in pit committee and the NASDAQ pit, so I signed off on the opening range every day. That's how it's defined since Dow theory was invented. Trading stocks and big funds, had come up with different interpretations of it. And then, volume profile and market profile people ended up, turning it into like, the initial balance. So the high and low of the first hour. By the time the initial balance is set, the people that are trading those breakouts are usually buying them from me when I'm taking profit on the trade. But the key to all of that is that I've got to keep my expenses tight and I cannot overtrade it.
Wow. Yeah. Very interesting. What are your thoughts when you think about technical analysis?
What do you mean? I mean, technical analysis is very important, right? I mean, we in order to know where the market is going, we have to know where it's been. But I have a very specific way of looking at the market and doing my technicals, and I don't veer from it. I don't look at candlestick patterns. I'm not going to look at a bull flag or a bear flag on a 15-minute and apply it to a 30-minute, an hourly, and a 240-minute chart, that kind of stuff. I mean, I've got my. So remember, on the trading floor, I did not have access to charts. So if I wanted to go get a chart, I had to walk out of the pit. I had to stand in line at a computer and I had to print it off. I mean, that was all the way up until the time I left the floor. Wow. I had to leave the pit to look at a chart in 2011. You trading off the floor, you had access to technicals. So it might take you a couple of minutes to get an order into a pit, and to get it executed. So it would behoove you to try to figure out where price is going to be in a few more minutes, So all kinds of different interpretations and uses came for it. On the floor, I had already determined what prices I was going to trade at when the market got there, and so I do the same thing now.
Yeah. I think that in the zeitgeist of trading, the technical analysis is so broad and it's a plague that everybody's a bit of a generalist where they know a little bit about everything, but there's not a form of technical analysis that they've just mastered.
Right.
And I think that, and one of the things I'm even picking up from hearing you, and I hope everybody else listening as well, is you have something very specific that you're doing, and arguably you could probably learn this thing in several days, but you could do it for years of evolving with it and growing with it and specializing in it. And it's a bad trap to fall into of learning about something and just, I get it, I understand. No, you don't understand it. Do it for, master it, and then you can get to that place. But I was just interested if you had any thoughts specifically about technical analysis, because I think as I look at the trading landscape, it's one of the biggest pain points where I feel like everybody just kind of gets veered off all over the place with it. Good Lord.
And it's funny too, there's only two technical analysts that I trust in the world, and it's because I know that they're looking at the right charts. And nowadays the S&P has got a 50 during rollover, has got 50 points between the lead month and the back month.
Yeah,
how do you change that? How do you account for that? What, do the prices change? Do the targets change? That kind of thing. And then what chart are you looking at? You're looking at a daily continuation chart, an active daily continuation chart. Are you looking at a chart that rolls on volume? You're looking at a chart that rolls on time, or you're looking at a chart that just doesn't roll. I can't trust anybody's technical analysis that is not my own and very specific to the way that I trade, because I just don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah. Can I ask you this as like a topic as well? You've talked about your journey and kind of finding your way into it, and you've talked around this idea of leaning into your strengths and finding something that is very much working for you and something that gives you an edge and maybe paving your own way. And I think for all traders, there's this balance of you have to be able to be your own person and to make your own trade decisions and to have radical self accountability and responsibility and almost be able to come up with your trade ideas. And there is also a huge benefit in standing on the shoulders of giants and learning from somebody who's gone before you. But it's never as easy, or it's not, the path forward is not buy a program from somebody and then this is the secret, or this is going to fix all your problems. It's could be a good start. A long way of asking the question, but could you speak about this balance of making your own way and becoming a trader? But if you are learning from somebody, or if there is somebody you're leaning against or helping you, what role they should be playing in that development?
Radical responsibility is key and integral to any kind of long-term success that any of us are going to have. There are, and then, this is a much more nuanced conversation, I think, than just a couple of minutes. There is so much information out there, and most of it nonsense, or most of it partially cool and partially garbage, it's difficult to tell. The standing the test of time, is what ultimately is where the proof is. And if somebody is willing to share their struggles and how they overcame them, and they're honest about it, then that's somebody that I want to follow. Some of my best follows on Twitter have 50 followers, but I follow what they say. They're putting out original content and original information, and they're honest about their experience. I hesitate in coming on a podcast like this and sitting here talking about my technicals or talking about, the mechanics of things, because everybody does that. I like coming on here and talking about my experience, because not many people do that, and even fewer have the kind of experience that I've got, and even fewer that have the kind of experience that I have are willing to share it and be honest and open about it. So I think that's where my value, the trading methodology that I developed over a long period of time is very, very important. But I can have the high and the low of the year, and unless I am mentally, spiritually, and physically fit, I am not going to be able to make money in it. And that's the key. I need to be able to, I developed this strategy. I implement it every day, but if I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm not self-possessed, I'm not self-assured, I'm not self-confident, I'm not in self-control, none of it is going to happen. None of it's going to matter. Ultimately, I'll find a way to sabotage it. When I start thinking, what a great trader I am, my weaknesses are in the background doing push-ups, waiting to pounce on me, and I've got to be mindful of those.
Yeah, and I'll give you your flowers on this, because you mentioned it, and I would strongly agree. You have a very interesting experience and a lot to share. And when you're talking with somebody like you, they don't need to have a Lamborghini in the background. They can just talk, and you understand that this person is different. This person has something to say. This person is interesting because this person has been through these battles, and they've built up and they've suffered. And it's all coming across just talking with you. And I really appreciate the conversation that you're, blessing us all with. Can I ask you this? And I really like that input that you said about, be wary if somebody's just trying to show you how great everything is. But when, if you're trying to maybe follow along with somebody, or thinking of somebody as a mentor, somebody who's sharing their struggles and being real about it. And that's a very powerful thought. So thank you for that. You mentioned quite a bit about the fact that maybe naturally you're not very disciplined. And so it's very important to you that you do these disciplined things. So I have a couple questions about that. When you're doing these things, do you track it like in a spreadsheet of something of like, today I made the bed, I meditated, like I got this 60-day stretch going where I've never broken it. Is it that regimented to you?
No. In the beginning, in the beginning of all of it, it was. I keep journals. I keep spiral notebook journals all over the place. I bought an iPad with the pencil to write on it. I don't do that. Yeah. So, but in the beginning of all this, I would write down, all right, what are my goals for tomorrow? Number one, wake up, make my bed. My whole morning routine and everything I did kind of came together almost by accident. Just a little bit. When I got my first check from MF Global back, and all right, now what am I going to trade? Well, I traded the U.S. Open. I traded the Asian Open. I traded the European Open. Now I decide, I'm making more money trading the U.S. Open, so no more Europe and no more. Now I'm up at strange hours, so I'm up at 3 a.m. So a friend of my father's friend had a stroke. So I walked down to the hospital, and I would pray a rosary with her, and then pray the Psalms with her when she was in the hospital. So now I'm getting up early and I'm praying. I was overweight, I smoked, and so I drank too much. And so then I decided I was going to run. I'm up early, I'm praying, I'm going to start working out. So I joined Planet Fitness for $10 a month. And I started to run around the block. Now I'm losing weight. I stopped smoking. I wasn't drinking as much. All of these things. Well, I'm up early and praying. I'm doing all. Then I started to make my bed. And then, and then I just kept doing it because I'm making money again. I'm being productive. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I'm a better, brother and friend. I'm just a better person. So I kept doing them and doing them and doing them. And I would write them down and, what works, what isn't working, what's effective, what is not effective. And that's how I ended up coming up with it. So I just kind of stuck with it. It's more second nature, Corpse, than it is, regimented.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting that maybe one of the most popular questions and something everybody wants to know about a lot of times is, what's the routine? What do you do? What is, and there's something great about, hearing about a dialed in routine and then doing that yourself. But there's this different thing that it unlocks when you trial and error your way through to what exactly is your routine. And it's something that you can't just be given. You have to take the years of, hey, this worked out really well for me. This didn't. And it's an odd amount of work to put in, but I would say it's a worthy, type of struggle. You mentioned, of all the things that you do in the morning, let's say, make the bed, get hydrated, do your meditation, the other things that you do for the morning. If you had to think about it and maybe you could only do one, you for some reason you had to start the day and you could only do one thing. You could only make the bed, you could only do a meditation, you could, what do you think would be the one thing that no matter what, you would have to do that or your day is going to be messed up?
Pray. I'd have to pray.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I'd have to be in touch with something greater than me.
Yeah. Yeah. You've mentioned that you're a man of faith, and I'm assuming Catholic, based on what you said with the rosary. Maybe even a good place to as a final kind of topic almost, because I would just be curious, when you think of Jesus, who is Jesus to you?
Wow, what a question that is.
And why I know that was kind of out of left field, and I've had a very similar, I've had some realizations recently that I've just been mulling over and they've been very fresh in my mind. And you're one of the first people I've talked to who's just mentioned their faith. And so I just was curious.
So, for a long time, being Catholic, people think that we pray to the saints or we pray to Mary. We don't. We ask Mary to pray for us. Hail Mary, full of grace, pray for us now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So I'm not praying to Mary, but it was easier for me to relate to Mary because I was closer with my mother than I was my father. I felt my mother's unconditional love. My father, I had to earn it. So, my relationship with God has always been one of not good enough, earning. I have more to do, and then as I've matured, after I was broke and kind of stripped bare of everything, Corbs, I made millions of dollars. I mean, a ton of money. And when I literally had nothing, I literally had nothing. And so it was, okay, who am I? The existential question, who am I and where am I going? What's important to me? And I never lost that flicker of faith. So, I just realized that I'm okay. I'm all right. My kids have a roof over their head. My wife still loves me and she's with me. I don't know why, but she does. Maybe I am worthy of love because they love me. I don't see it. I don't understand why. I remember listening to that song, Johnny Cash's song, Hurt, over and over and over again one night. All I'm leaving behind, I'm paraphrasing the song, but all I'm leaving behind is this big pile of shit that I'm leaving for the people that love me. So if I like Job, and I read a lot of Job. My trading badge is PAX, which means peace in Latin. During 08 and 09, when everybody was dying, and then I came back on the floor, this Jewish guy came over to me and said, maybe you should change your badge from PAX to Job. And so I thought, well, maybe I ought to read Job.
Wow.
So as I kind of did, I realized that Job was happy after he lost everything in life, and he lost, including all of his loved ones that died, and he lost everything. But he was sitting, and Scripture says he was sitting on his pile of dung, and that's when he realized that God loved him. So somewhere along the line, I realized at that point, that God loved me. I just had to learn how to allow Him to love me. Well, then I start, reading the Bible a lot more. I don't want to sound, too religious, but I started to read the Bible a lot more, and I realized that Jesus, the second person of the Trinity, is that conduit. The God, the love of God, the love of the Son, the love of God the Father, and the Son produce the love of the Holy Spirit, which is the love between all of us. That mystery, the mystery of faith, I guess. So the way that I see God the Father is this all-knowing, all omniscient, as Jesus is too, being or entity that exists, that creates everything, and Jesus as my savior, the sacrificial lamb, my friend, somebody who walks through life with me, that has already died so I don't have to, that has already suffered so I don't have to, that gives me faith in all things and gives me the awareness and the knowledge that no matter what is going on, and no matter what life will bring storms, no matter what kind of storm I'm facing, I'm loved, I'm safe, and I'm okay. And so is everybody I love and everybody around me.
No, that was a nice insight into you. Thanks for sharing that. The platform that you're the most active on social media, is it Twitter?
Twitter.
Okay, so that would be the place to go. We'll have anything that's important to you linked in the description that people can find. So I know we're at the end of our time, but if you want to say your last anything, closing words, or just say goodbye, and then I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll say goodbye to you proper, but we'll leave the public eye here anyway.
I really enjoyed this. I didn't quite realize when we segued in from just kind of talking. I took that phone call. I shouldn't have done that but I really enjoyed talking to you. You are really, like you said earlier, you can tell who's real and who's not. You're real. You're genuine. I enjoy your podcast, so I appreciate you having me on. This is the greatest business in the world. There's nothing like this. There was nothing like what we had on the trading floor. There'll never be a place where people like me can become rich. There's a difference between being wealthy and rich. I was rich. I'm wealthy now, rich then. This business, trading now, is different. The money's different. Big money, fast money doesn't come as easily as it did then. But electronic trading has leveled the playing field. I'm the same as any trader that's bigger or smaller than me. We're all the same. We only have one trade in front of us. The only trade that I'm guaranteed is that next trade. That's it. So the only trade that I can focus on is the next one. What I did before, I'm learning from. What's coming into the future, I'm planning for. The only one that I need to focus on is the one that's in front of me. And as long as I manage it that way, then I can stack one trade on top of the other and continue to build my business and my financial house for both myself and for my family. And I'm incredibly grateful to have gone through the experience that I've had, because it's made me a better man. It's made me a better everything. And I love life, and I'm grateful for it.
Very, very nice ending words, and a great way to end the podcast right there.